Today we have international media experts to join us to share with us not just their insight and their perspective and their secret. So now, again, I would like to invite the moderator of this session, who has been on the stage just now. Let me invite Rich to the stage again, our moderator, manager of Taiwan Tech Arena. Rich is also going to be our moderator for this session. Rich, please. Rich, you're the moderator. Yes, over here, please. And I was just informed that Miss Cindy Sui, correspondent of BBC, has not yet arrived, so that's okay. Let me invite our next speaker, Mr. Samson Ellis, Taipei Bureau Chief of Bloomberg. Ladies and gentlemen, your applause. And Mr. Kevin McSpadden, editor of E27. And Mr. Kyle Chen, director of Startup and Media Community of Business Next. Gentlemen, let's get started.
Have a seat. Well, probably can move it. Get closer, get warmer. Also, it's hot outside. All right, thanks, gentlemen. Thanks for the time being with us to join the so-called Meet the Media session. I think one of the key things for the staff and also for the media is that how do we generate enough noise to get the people interested in your stories? And of course, if they're interested in your story, potentially they're interested in your product and potentially be your customers. So today we actually want to use the next 20 to 40 minutes to do two things. One is that we are going to have our media partners to talk about themselves. What are the things you are looking for when you do the interview or plan for interview? And then what are the previous stories you have been covered? And then we are actually doing a tryout session. So when I say tryout, you actually have the chance to do 1 minute pitch to the medias here. They will actually do some comment to you. So that's actually the format and what's going to happen in the next 40 minutes. So without further ado, may I have the Samson? Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi there, yeah, my name's Samson Ellis. I'm the bureau chief of Bloomberg News here in Taipei, where we have 12 journalists covering Taiwan, and then obviously Bloomberg, we focus mainly on capital markets and stuff like that. But as part of that, we also do have a big focus in Taiwan on technology, of course. Have one reporter who's dedicated to covering the technology sector in Taiwan, and also a columnist as well, whose main focus, and he's here today, Tim Colpin. I'm sure you've all seen and read his stories many times in the past before, and he is based here in Taiwan, so spends a lot of his time writing about Taiwan too.
Thank you. Kevin?
My name's Kevin McSpadden. I'm the editor at E27. We're a startup media company in Southeast Asia. We focus mainly on Southeast Asia, but we do Taiwan's kind of the northern fringes of our coverage. And we do day in, day out, like grinding on the startup industry. So if you're a startup here, that's who we cover. We focus on the startup community and what's going on in the ecosystem, mostly in Southeast Asia. So I'm based in Singapore. We're based in Singapore, but yep.
My turn? Okay, hello guys, my name is Kyle. I'm from Business Next Media. Actually, Business Next Media is the first media in Taiwan to focus on startup coverage and startup business. And the topic we focus on will be international business, digital innovation, and advanced technology. Besides doing the business thing, the media thing, we also run a startup community called Meet. So like most media do, where explore startup news and focus on their product and service. But we also pay more attention on other criteria to evaluate a startup company. So maybe if we got chance to share more. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Cindy Su and I'm the BBC's correspondent in Taiwan. Sorry, I was a little bit late. I was actually interviewing startup founders out there. And I have covered several stories about startups, so it's an honor to be invited here to talk about how to engage the media in your startup and what the media are looking for when they're looking for doing stories about startups.
All right, so I think you guys do a very quick introduction. So we actually have some time left, so I'm going to ask you some questions if you guys are okay. So I think you talk about the focus, especially on the field of the industry. For example, you focus on tech, you focus on internet business, international business. But what I want to ask on behalf of the audience here is that what are the characteristics you are looking for when you find a startup? What are the things that help you make the decision, say, okay, I'm going to do an interview with him or her? What are the one or two key things from that founders or from that team help you make the decision?
Well, for us at Bloomberg, and it's very important for all startups to be aware of, is that we are absolutely bombarded by requests. There's a lot of noise out there. We get press releases, we get invitations to events, we get PR companies calling us up all the time. So yeah, for you guys, it's very difficult to, show that you're different and stand out from the crowd. So a few things for us that Bloomberg looks for when we're deciding whether or not to cover a company or a story. And we have a few internal guidelines and metrics to decide, is this the story worth covering? So one of those is what we internally call size and scope. So we look at numbers. We want superlatives when we're looking at a company. So are you the biggest, the fastest, the first to do a certain thing? Also, this size and scope also comes down to money as well. If you can somehow show us, whether it's the value of your company or a deal you're about to do is above a certain level. I mean, obviously for us, $1 billion is this magic number in many ways in terms of deals, also in terms of valuations of companies. That triggers a lot of interest. And I know $1 billion is a long way for everybody to get to. And hopefully, if you're an interesting company, if you have an interesting story to tell, we will start covering you before that. And the way to pique our interest there, again, another couple of things we look at. One of our internal editorial guidelines is names make news, right? So if you are affiliated in any way, or you have an investor who is well known, that's of interest to us, that's of interest to global readers. And that's the thing to remember, we are writing for a global audience. And so a very small company in Taiwan with no broader relevance outside of Taiwan, that's a really difficult editorial argument for us to make, is whether or not to cover this company. But if you're in some way affiliated with somebody, if you have a well-known investor, that makes it our choice our decision to cover you much easier. So just as an example, Gogoro, right? I mean, over the past few years, they've gotten a lot of coverage, but last year, their third round of funding, Al Gore being involved in that, a headline, Gogoro completes third round of funding. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Al Gore and Tomasek buy into Gogoro or buy Gogoro stake. That's suddenly a much more interesting headline for us. Again, that might be a little bit further down the road for many startups as well. So before that, what's really crucial is provide us an interesting story to tell. That's the fundamental. We're all in news. Yeah. We want an interesting story and a unique story to tell. Why are you different from the hundreds of other companies in the world trying to tackle a certain problem? And then also what we want to see is we want to see that you're not a flash in the pan, that you will be around in 2 years' time, in 3 years, in 5 years' time. We don't want to, spend time and energy covering a company or a startup that's not going to make it. We want to cover the next Facebook before anybody else. So if you can convince us that you're in it for the long haul and you have a long-term strategy and a future, that again is absolutely crucial for us going to cover you.
You want to comment?
So I think this is kind of goes to why startups and entrepreneurship is really difficult and a challenging career pursuit. Is you would pitch to me actually maybe the complete opposite to how you would pitch to Bloomberg, because he's correct. He's 100% right on what they're looking for, but what we're looking for is authenticity, and we're more of a local community engagement media company. So I actually don't really care too much about the numbers. I don't care if you're going to be around in 6 months. I don't personally care if you're going to be the next Facebook, because I cover companies that are dead 3 months after we write a newspaper article about them. It's just the way it goes. I mean, it's an unfortunate reality of entrepreneurship. But for us, for the, I don't know, Business Next might be more similar to E27. What I personally value is a bit of authenticity and getting away from we're the first to do this, we're the largest to do this, because I've been in the Singapore startup ecosystem for 3 years, Hong Kong for a couple years, so I kind of know that most companies aren't the first to do something. And if you're we get press releases in China that says we're the first blockchain-based company to do this in China, and it's like, no, you're not. But so just be honest. And then a little small tip is avoid startup jargon. There's certain jargon like Series A round, Series B round, seed round that makes it understanding what I'm writing about, but that's mostly just like a basic news pitch. But if you're trying to pitch a feature, the startup jargon just, a lot of it doesn't really actually make that much sense. Disruptive logistics, blockchain-based startup in Singapore. Like, what does that even mean? So just kind of explain it as if you're telling your mom or your brother or your dad what you're doing for a living. That's kind of the best way, at least to pitch to us. And then the final point I was going to make is to be persistent and don't apologize. Samson said, it's correct. We also get just bombarded by press releases, by requests for coverage. And frankly, if I don't respond, it's not anything personal. It doesn't mean your pitch isn't good enough. It just means I was busy and I got 200 emails and I just kind of have to say no to some things. And so just send it again in 3 days, and then send it again in a week. And then don't apologize for taking my time, because if I was offended, I would be in a different job. And for the Taiwan especially, because we actually don't have boots on the ground. We cover Taiwan because we have good relationship with a lot of startups in Taiwan and good partnerships in Taiwan, but we don't actually have a single employee in Taiwan. So that requires you guys to make the effort to reach out to us, because I can pull stories from the ground in Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, but I can't really do that in Taiwan, because I've been here for 5 days in my entire life, so I just don't know the ecosystem. So make the effort and be persistent and pitch to me like you pitched to your brother, whereas pitch to Bloomberg like you're pitching to Bloomberg.
Well, I like to comment from a different angle. Just like I said, Business Next Media is not just a media. We also run a startup community. So for us, of course, we're all looking for the very unique one or the superstar of startups. But as a role of startup community organizer, we try to discover as many as possible early stage startups to get to know every little thing about their company. So, first of all, you got to found a company. Of course, it's a basic, and you got to have a product or service which is online or get into the market. It's all the basic, but we want to know more about this company, why and how you want to start this company, and with what kind of technology skill or with what kind of ability that you can fix a problem you found, and with whom to make a team to help you to fix, to get things done. And furthermore, maybe your background or how much money you want to raise and how you're gonna use them to help you achieve to success. So basically, we're going to interview more than 100 startup companies, not only in Taiwan, also from global cities. And as a role of startup community, maybe we cannot incubate or accelerate them only by ourselves, but we'll try to help them succeed via our network or resources that we can get. So this is our angle to evaluate a startup.
Thank you. Cindy, you want to comment a little bit?
Yes, I have some comments, but before I make comments, can I show the video that I prepared, just so you guys know what kind of startup stories we do? This is a story that we did last year, I think.
Lyra VR.
Could you turn up the volume a little bit?
It's a VR
That's
instrument.
Dylan. Yeah, I know Dylan.
So basically, you're stepping into another world where you can see sound. You can move it around, change the actual pitch. You're inside the song. It's going to really disrupt everything. So I pretty much just focused everything I did and pretty much dropped all my clients and then started working on VR.
People have to be more optimistic, more willing to hear about startups' idea, help them to do the right things. We have to find a way to help them, to support them.
It's the general culture of being more risk averse and not rewarding people who want to take risk enough.
Thanks. So that was just one of the stories I've done about startups. And that one, I started off not knowing what company to interview. I didn't really know where to start. I don't like to play favorites. I don't really want to just go with companies that contacted me. So I started off with the incubators. I think I contacted Taiwan Startup Stadium. And I was very, very detailed about what I was looking for. I told them I wanted to find companies that had an interesting product, something that maybe we haven't heard about before. Because after all, we're in the news business, like Samson said. I want to show my viewers, my audience, something that they haven't seen before. But I also wanted a company that was had consumer appeal. So that means that they're not just making a product for businesses. Their product can be interesting and usable for ordinary people. Because the BBC has. We try to make our stories interesting to people of all ages and all sorts of backgrounds. So I'm thinking, if I can make this story interesting to my 10-year-old and 11-year-old, then I think it will be a good story. So they gave me a list of maybe 10 companies, and there was a lot of long conversations about which one might suit us better. And eventually, I narrowed down to these two companies. Partly because they had a lot of good visuals for us. So we had to make the video look interesting to people. Dylan's app was very interesting. It was very pretty to look at. And also the parking lot app was good to film. And both of these founders were very good at explaining their products. They spoke in common language, so no text speak. So I don't really have to struggle to understand what they're trying to say. And then my viewers won't have a hard time understanding what these startups are all about. So because I'm in broadcasting, it might be different from the other speakers. I have to find stories that look good and for radio sound good. So it might seem unfair, but that's kind of the way the business is. But it doesn't mean that a startup that doesn't have good visuals yet cannot appeal to the media. I often find that a lot of startups, they haven't taken the time or made the effort to make their product visually interesting. Like they haven't produced a video. So one company that contacted me and I really, really wanted to do this story about them was a company that makes a software or a device that helps people figure out how to escape in a fire. So the product basically alerts people to which direction, which exit to take. And I really wanted to do this story because, you know, fires are awful and we've seen some terrible fires in Taiwan and elsewhere. And I wanted to do this story, but they didn't have a video and it would have been very hard for me to try to do a demo video on my own. You know, even with a good cameraman, it would be really hard for me to figure out how their app works and to show it to my audience in a very easy to understand way. So in the end, I didn't interview them, unfortunately. But I'm keeping in touch with them, and hopefully one day I can do a story about them. So my advice is never give up on journalists. We're actually looking for good stories, and you've already kind of won half the battle with me because I so admire you guys for having the courage to quit your jobs and throw all your money and effort and time into building your own company.
All right, thank you all for the sharing. I think just to wrap up, so I think when you want to pitch to a media, or actually when you want to pitch to everyone, understand what he or she is looking for. For example, if you are pitching to a specialty media, then start from that angle. If you want to pitch to a social community media, start from that angle. Want to pitch to a kind of like a general media, you need to figure out what's the best position so as you make your story really interesting. So interesting can mean many different kind of things to different kind of media, different kind of audience. And then build your story with scale. I think as Samson said, you need to have some kind of scale. That's actually the easy things for media to pick up. And then if you are pitching to BBC who produce video for you, then you make yourself kind of like visually good. I think that's also very important. Want to comment something?
Yeah, there's something I want to add, especially echo to Cindy about the visual appeal and especially to the Taiwanese startups. Be ready when you're going to accept an interview of a media or when you're about to go upstage for a pitch. Please be ready. Be ready means including your outfit. Okay, a nice and fit T-shirt of your logo is better than a weird suit. And be ready on your proposal, on the videos, on the slides you're going to show. Be ready and be prepared of your product and service, which is ready to open to the public. Especially don't show anything to the media, then tell them that, don't cover that. It happens to me a lot that some startup founders told me a lot of things, including their secrets, and at the end they told me, you cannot cover this, you cannot cover that, you can only cover our product. That only show things you're ready to open to the public. Okay, so the last thing I want to add is be 200% ready.
I agree.
Great. So I think it's about time for us to move on to the trial session. So I think I'm going to explain the rule again so that the people come later can understand. So what we are going to do now is we'll open the floor to the staff. you will have the chance to do 1 minute pitch to the media here. If you guys are interested in know more, you can. Well, it's not. Oh, you can. You can raise your hands. I think it's not working. Yeah. So then after the 1 minute pitch, you guys can comment whatever you think is interesting to know. What are things they can add more, or what are the things, or even you actually want to do interview afterwards. So that all kinds of comment you want to make, that's actually okay. So we have 14 minutes from now. So any question from the juries?
No, the city doesn't have this.
Oh, so the Seth can, or maybe, yeah.
No, don't do that. Ooh, wow. Okay.
Good catch. All right. So all right. So you guys are ready?
Just tap it.
What is it for?
Just tap it.
If you're interested
If you
to
want
some
to-
startup, you can.
Yeah, or you want to comment, or even during the presentation, you have anything you think, oh, this is really great. They can actually.
Can
Right?
we just simply raise our hands?
Raise your hand. Well, it's called visually good.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to open up the floor right now. So anyone want to try the first one? All right, the people, the gentleman there.
Hi, my name is Hank Zhuo. Our team is developing a novel eye drop to treat myopia. Why is myopia? Because myopia is a disease that can cause a severe complication, including blindness. But the current treatment is not good. There's only one eye drop available, which causes a side effect. That's why we develop a better eye drop to treat. So a question for you guys is, the eye drop is not a product, it's how to show in the media. So any suggestion in terms of how to get into the public, go to the media to show our future product? Thanks.
We both wear glasses, right? So, well, I think it's better for you to tell a great story about how much you suffer from the inconvenience of wearing glasses than to call it a disease, I think. Especially only got 1 minute. Yeah, this is my suggestion.
I like that you started with your team because it shows that you're not just thinking. It's a good way to run a company, right? You focus on the team, and the first thing you said in your pitch was, "My team is developing," which is a good sign for me in terms of the CEO. But then for me, I don't know anything about myopia, so the eye drops sounds really scary. So I would try to explain why the eye drops wouldn't burn my eyes out, or why it sounds really terrifying. So just explain what it does and the problem that it's solving, and why eye drops are better than glasses, because everyone uses glasses, so you're trying to disrupt like a piece of paper. You're trying to disrupt one of the fundamental parts of living. So.
Okay. Well, I was immediately interested when you said when you made your brief introduction, because just even though I don't wear glasses, I don't use eye drops. Just the fact that your product is about a problem that a lot of people might have experienced, and it's a health issue, that immediately appealed to me. That it has consumer appeal. It's not something that's difficult to explain. But I agree with our other speaker that perhaps you can. And I like how you said there's only one eye drop out in the market. I don't know if that's true, but I like how you helped me understand why yours is important, and that other eye drop out there is not so good. so don't feel shy about doing that. Advertise your product. Why is your product better? I like that.
And I think eyesight is something from a media perspective that it's good because it's something everybody can identify with. It's a very personal thing, and it can elicit an emotional response from people as well. People I think everywhere will understand a certain amount of dread about losing your eyesight or having worse eyesight. So that's good in one aspect. I think what's always crucial is getting across the scale of the problem. So can you quantify how many people suffer from this currently, and how badly? There will be degrees of how badly people suffer from it. and then how much better your product is than what's already out there. So kind of giving some quantifiable data or sense of how big the problem is and how good you are at solving the problem.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I think let's give Professor a big applause. Anyone else want to try? Let's get from the left stage order, the lady. Where's the microphone?
Hello, my name is Lucy, and I'm the founder of Space Draft from Australia. My question for you is to please think of your favorite film. Do you know how many people it takes to make a film? Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Have you ever sat and watched the credits of a film? They just keep going. How do all of these people communicate? How do they all know what to do on a film? They have a tool that communicates and speaks to every single person on that film, and that is the script. The script is a two-dimensional canvas that communicates to everyone that works on a film what to do, what the timeline is, what the scope of the production is. For VR, AR, and MR, there is no blueprint that exists to bring concept creators onto the same page. Now, I have 10 years in feature film production and visual effects. I was Mel Gibson's assistant, Vince Vaughn's. I've worked for Lionsgate and all the big studios. Without a script, no content is streamlined, there is no scope defined, and at the end, you don't have a product that you can efficiently collaborate on and sell. So this is our tool.
Thank you. You want to comment?
So I actually don't quite understand it. Yeah. So that I think would be the comment would be to break it down into one sentence. And I get the script part, and I think the intro was good. And then it kept going. So maybe make the intro just one or two questions, and then a thesis statement. It kind of lacked a thesis statement. And then if you were going to transform the words into an email, probably even just eliminate the whole questions, because just the thesis statement, just like boom, right there. What does it do? Because I actually still don't quite understand what it does. So I think it needs some clarity on the product, what it does, what you're selling.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, I thought your questions made me interested in the beginning.
Right.
I thought very good presentation in that sense. And then when you went on about what it takes to make a feature film, I also was confused about what exactly your product was about. And also you focus a lot on the script. But so that makes me guess, are you offering to write a script or... Of course not, right? I mean, your product is about something else, how the people who worked on the feature film communicate with each other, right?
Yes. Well, it's an interactive script, so it's a three-dimensional script as a web app. So I probably should have started with that one.
Yeah, so maybe if you explain in one or two sentences what exactly it's about, an interactive script, so people can add to it and
collaborate and share their ideas.
It's like having a chat room script.
Exactly.
Everyone can chat with each other about the script?
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. The only thing I would be concerned about is it might not have mass appeal. So if I do this story, I might only appeal to some people who are interested in having kind of a script that can be collaborative.
Yeah.
It might not appeal to everyone out there.
Right.
Yeah.
For startups and teams working on content.
Yeah.
Just a random thought, like if with the mass appeal, you don't have to pitch to startup media or general media. Hollywood has massive media industry around it, right? And everyone's getting into the startup scene now. So even like Variety they would love an article about a tech startup. I know that. So.
Well, I know nothing about film industry or script making, but you show a great faith in making your own startup, and that attracts my attention. So, well, maybe I would like to know more about your product later if we have chance.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm part of the Taipei Talent International
Great.
community. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's give the lady a big hand. All right. Who is going to be the next? All right. Let's from the middle. The gentleman.
Hello, sir. I'm Alex. We are Bosomia Biotech Ltd. We are the heart and lungs guardians of breast cancer patients. Every 1 in 5 of breast cancer patients will get a cardiovascular effect, and the heart disease will be a very serious problem. So we Bosomia have a product, personalized breast holder, also known as Perspra. With this Perspra, we can change the shape, the distance of the breast and the heart, and the dose, the radiation dose will decrease. And this is why we can benefit the breast cancer patients, and we are going to set the new standard of the breast cancers of radiation therapy. Thank you.
Well, I probably can make the first comment. So sometimes it's actually, especially for the deep tech startup, try to make the story easy. I think Kevin mentioned that make sure the story can be understandable to even your grandmother, to your friends who don't know the technology at all. So I think that's probably the first comment I can help make. So any other things you want to bring up?
No, I thought at least you made it very clear what the problem is and what your product does, and so that was a positive about what you did. And also the issues that you raised, these health issues. I mean, they're obviously of enormous concern. So yeah.
So probably that's kind of like the strategy I think. Actually. So I think clearly the media here probably is not your target media, because your focus probably should be some kind of media, professional media that people can understand. Okay, this means what, right? But for them, if they want to, those kind of stuff want to talk with you guys, what are the suggestions? Or do they really need to focus on their technology, or they can pick up some other angle in their starting or their business that can attract you? So any kind of feedback or suggestion you can make?
So for the DTEP startups, I would try to translate it into avoiding the technology and focusing more on what the technology does, how it does it, and not how in terms of like the actual logistics, but the physical actions that the product moves forward and then thus solves the problem. And then my only comment on the pitch was just slow down a little bit.
Thank you.
It's fast.
I just want to add that even if you're just trying to appeal to a niche market, like certain types of industry media, I would still say maybe hire a PR company or somebody, a friend or somebody who's good in PR if you don't have the budget for a PR company, who can help you make your message appealing to the mass audience. Because why stop yourself short on just the industry, experts or people who are in that industry? Try to pitch as far as you can, and that's how you sometimes can get general media coverage. And I don't want to mention. I mean, I'm not saying pitch to children, but when I can get my kids to be interested in a story, in something, then I know I've done a good job selling it. So after that story, they watched it. They said, "Mommy, we want to go and play with that software. We want to be in the music." So you might want to think about what your goal is. Is it just a narrow industry that you're in, or do you want to appeal to a lot more people.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Yeah, let's give Ellis a big hand as well.
Thank you.
Wow. So I think we move on. Wow, really? All right, the people who are jumping. Right. You got the microphone.
I was worried there was going to be no hands raised.
That's so-called
and it's
video.
like the opposite problem.
No, I want to make this pitch.
All right, get started.
Okay, thanks, guys. Basically, we're called Hyperbot Studio. My name is Leo. I'm one of the co-founders. Some of you may already be familiar with one of our other products that we pushed out. It's called Lyra VR. Basically, what we focus on this company is essentially something that's within XR, which is basically any emerging technology platform that's governing AR, VR, or MR. And we use this as a story medium for particularly marketing and branding purposes. So we're essentially a service content production company for clients who are looking to use this medium to communicate their stories and their products to the particular audiences that they want to touch upon. So one of our experiences that we've done with one of our global partners is MSI, and we released an experience basically with VR that was on the high-end side and more arcade. And basically, it was like a shoot-'em-up game. But basically, at the same time, it's helping them to push their branding as well as letting their customers play inside of the motherboard, which is the primary product that they were wanting to play with. So that's primarily what we were doing on this side. Okay.
So this is just an exercise, but in one sentence, can you tell me what does your product do? How can it help ordinary people?
In one sentence, we can help them to experience anything in new and innovative ways that you can't do with traditional media.
Well, because I've met Leo for long. Actually, last year we worked together. They help us to do the opening performance in our event. So I'm just curious that how you put your technology to to make business with other big brands or big companies.
We're producing specifically very customized solutions for different ways in which they might want to apply their specific brand message or their product. So it's nothing that's very specific in terms of actual product. It's more something that we work with them as kind of a consultant agency, and we help them to idealize and ideate the conception and then produce an experience to produce off of that.
So you probably have NDAs, so you probably can't get too much into like your corporate client and that stuff. But I would try to explain it as much as possible in the sense of helping my imagination picture it. I met a company that basically does a similar thing as you in Singapore, and her pitch worked because she said one of her clients was the Singapore Zoo, and one of the things that she did was all the animals have names, but when you're at the zoo, you actually can never really remember which animal is which. So her product allowed you to put on these little glasses, and you could follow your favorite Coco the bear, and you could follow Coco the bear around, and that made me immediately I could imagine what the product does and how it works. So because you flirted with it, where you said we have this corporate client who does branding, and then you kind of went away with it. So obviously you have business restrictions, but try to make me visualize it as much as possible.
Yeah, I'd tag on to what Kevin was saying there, and that seems to me quite a lot of people are doing what you're doing. You may be doing it better than them, I don't know, but just really press home in what ways you're different.
Yeah, I agree. So I think if you start with we work with Business Next, hosting some event using my technology. I think that's actually an easy punchline for people to get what you're doing. Right, thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
All right, let's move to my right. So right here, no, you? Yeah.
Finally.
Hi, my name is Leon, and I'm the founder and CEO of Restring. So we're helping connect singles through their friends. And we're the LinkedIn for dating, and we're also Meetup for dating. So we're using LinkedIn plus meetup model to help the singles. So while the dating market is huge, now that Facebook is also entering this space, most people don't know that only about 10% of people meet their significant others through dating apps or online dating, whereas 60% of people meet their longtime partner through friends in common and also out at social settings. And that's what Restring is targeting. We're creating a friends-based matchmaking and events platform to help the singles make real connections through their friends and trusted sources. And we already launched our matchmaking app that allows everyone to play matchmaker for their friends. And we're actively looking for people who are passionate in this space to join us as advisors and investors to help us further help more singles. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, that the founder of Pactor, he met his wife via dating apps. So my suggestion is to tell us a sexier story about dating, about meeting friends, about matchmaking, about your service. A sexy story. Yeah, thank you.
And are you a hookup app like the Tinder one, or are you more serious like Coffee Meets Bagels? Because that's why Coffee Meets Bagel is so successful, is because they've very well branded themselves as the anti-Tinder, the app for serious relationships. And in Southeast Asia, which Pactor now is a Taiwanese company, but so what they did in Singapore, which is funny coming out of my mouth, is they kind of pitched themselves as the non-expat dating app. So if you were tired of dating expats, you would go to Pactor, and Singaporeans would date Singaporeans. So I don't know. So I think just find what kind of dating you're going for.
I'd just like to highlight a pet peeve of mine in pitches, which is we're the Tesla of XYZ. We're the LinkedIn. It used to be an effective tool. It's so overdone now that I'd say just drop it. Unless you've got a really interesting twist and a take on it, like just drop that whole rhetorical approach. And like, I mean, you came up with, a quarter of the way in, you started like with some numbers and some like highlighting the scale of a potential problem or a situation you can help solve. That's good. And I think I agree with what Kyle was saying, make it sexy. And that doesn't mean explicitly sexy, but just, find something, you can find an interesting, more creative, newer way to grab somebody's attention right at the top without saying we're the XYZ of XYZ. Because we see that a lot.
I had a random idea, which is I think Facebook actually launched something similar. So you could explain why Facebook is terrible and why yours is the better version for the connecting people.
I just want to add that I don't know much about dating apps, but when you said this one will help you, will allow your friends and family to help you find your potential partner in life, I thought that was interesting because I've actually tried to do that, to match my friends up. It didn't work, but it would be great to have an app like that. But I think the thing I want to know is there anything else out there like that? What these guys seem to be saying is maybe there are other apps like that. So don't be shy to address the competition. You can say, yeah, there are lots of other apps like that, but try to find out why your app is different from theirs and try to tell me or other reporters, or why is your app different from all the other ones out there? But it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the valuable comment. I think we still have time, so let's go to the further over there, on the yellow t-shirt.
This is a little terrifying. So I'm with Umbro Computer Vision, and we're building a visual AI product to solve a 100 million hour problem. So there's surveillance cameras being installed everywhere around the world, the United Kingdom especially. And one of the main problems is that product the video that's being recorded is stored, but never consulted until after fact. I just came back from South Africa, where I saw a bunch of people hide and crawl over a fence into a house to steal their television, and no one saw it until after the TV was gone. So we're building an AI product that recognizes human shapes and human shapes to alert the guards, the police, whenever that will happen. So people don't have to stare at a screen all the time, which is terribly ineffective. And from there, we're extending human behaviors, such as scaling the wall, loitering, and others. So thank you.
So is there anything else out there like that?
There are a lot, I would say, but the difference, I think, is that most of those don't work. They send false alarms, they send, a cat runs by, the weather kind of changes. In fact, these criminals actually come out best during the rain, because the rain causes motion detection, other AI, quote unquote, to go haywire. So in this case, we recognize the person's shape, the person's action, the person's identity, essentially.
What makes your app able to do that? What kind of technology?
We use neural networks, but that's backed by immense amounts of data. We've been doing this for 3 years now, and we've been trying to create our own proprietary data set for that.
I think that sounds very interesting, and I just wonder immediately, would it have stopped that guy who went into the school after school in Danshui and killed that girl?
Right.
Last year.
Yeah, we were thinking a lot about that, because that's the sort of thing that our CEO is super interested in protecting, because we really want to help people. And especially in South Africa, we hear a lot about, I met a lot of people who personally saw kids being kidnapped right out of their schools for human trafficking purposes. And that's something we really want to help protect against.
Yeah, I thought your pitch was very interesting. It was very clear. I think Cindy helped you get to an even more important part of it, was like, and I don't think you should be afraid to address the competition, as she said, and that there are lots of these products out there, but we do it better, and this is why. And this is the problem with them, and we can solve this problem. Don't be afraid to put that out there. I mean, sounds interesting.
Thank you.
But there are also many startup companies who's focusing on the AI civilian business, and most of them are like you. In their presentation, they used to say that most of the others are making it wrong, and I'm the only one who can make it right. But in my angle, you guys need to prove it with data, with more tests, with the videos or something. You guys have to prove it. Yeah.
I think it's really difficult to explain it when I'm standing here in a crowd.
Yeah.
But we do have an app, and I think probably the most realistic way to explain is to show our competitors and all the false alarms that they claim, and you look at, and it's a cat, it's raining, it's nothing. Whereas for our alerts, you will see that it's person.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. So I think Samson actually mentioned that if you have any kind of like a proven point, especially affiliated with some kind of famous, so for example, your solution is proven by one of the biggest security company in the US. That's actually the proven point you can mention in your pitch. I think they'll help even though you don't need to throw out all the data saying, this is kind of false alert rate, that kind of stuff, but you have some kind of like a well-known company have proved your product or business model. I think that's an easy way for the media to understand the mature rate of your product or service. I think we still have time for one more company. So, all right, over there.
Hello, my name is Philip. We are AP Plasma Corporation. We are using the plasma technology to bonding the shoes together. We're using the plasma technology to bonding the midsole and outsole, EVA and the rubber. But plasma technology combined with the physical and the chemical, so it can just like a traditional shoes factory. It before bonding, it use the rough and primer. But now we're using the plasma. It just using the plasma, only plasma. We're using the plasma just only electric and flow. So it's eco process and cost down to the shoes factory. Thank you.
Okay, so my comment is, at least based on that pitch, it seems like it's a solution looking for a problem, because my shoes are fine, and they're like a year old. And so explain to me why I need to improve on what is already working within the industry. So start off with, maybe it's inefficiencies within the manufacturing. Maybe it's, hey, when your shoe breaks, you can make a professional fix job at your house instead of throwing them in the trash. But I understood what your solution was, but I wasn't convinced that there's a problem.
Or if you can quantify it, if it's a money-saving thing or if it makes shoes more durable, quantify that for us, and that, yeah, makes this, again, identifying the problem or what you're saving people money, if that's what it essentially is, then yeah, really hit home with that.
You look cute, you know. Always smiling, and introduce your own technology with happiness. But it seems that you're talking about a high technology, a difficult one. But it's not that it's hard to connect with your image to us. You know what I mean? So maybe next time try to explain it in a more professional way, to act like a businessman that I can make you cost down. You know, to be more confident about what you're going to say.
Sorry, I didn't quite get it. Sorry, I think it's because maybe I didn't quite understand it. Something about shoes, but maybe you can make it very simple, easy to understand language. You know, sometimes people come to me with press releases, or they tell me, and then they spend several minutes telling me something, and I really just still don't get it. Try to use really easy to understand language. Like, you know, give an example. You know, like for instance, it takes, I don't know, X amount of dollars to make a pair of shoes right now, but my app can help you make it in like half the price or something like that. And I also didn't quite get the mass appeal. It seemed like it was a product for other businesses, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, sorry.
I think it goes back to Kyle when he was speaking in the very beginning about being prepared. And so when you do this, again, maybe spend like a half a day and think it through, and then you have you know immediately where you're going to go once you get called on randomly in an audience.
But I would say I actually don't want to stress you guys out. I think the best way to communicate is actually very simple communications. Just like the way you talk to your mom and dad, you know, your friends. That's the easiest thing. It can really help people understand what you're talking about.
And I think that's often very easy for people who are involved in an industry to forget. Like what you said at the beginning, is that jargon is just horrible. But you've got to be aware of what is jargon and what's not jargon. And this goes for everybody here. Like, avoid jargon. Jargon's horrible.
Yeah. So not to put on the spot, but I think probably half of the audience here don't know what plasma is. So you can just say, okay, do you know this? I think I read your introduction yesterday, so I probably can help you. So there's actually 2.6 billion of shoes being produced every year. Every shoes need to glue for the button and the shoe body, and that's actually do a lot of damage to the environment. Your technology can actually address that problem and save the environment, lower down the cost for the manufacturer, make everyone happy. So that's actually the thing I read from your introduction. So I think that's actually easier for me to understand other than your pitch today. So that's my feedback. All right, thank you. Let's give Plasma a big hand as well. And thanks everyone. Oh, do you want to take another one? I think we have 4 minutes. You guys happy? So, all right, that lady.
Hello everyone, my name is Amy from eBus. Do you know that there are about 300,000 people die from the traffic accidents caused by drowsy driving in the world every year? And our technology is to solve the problem and reduce the car accidents caused by drowsy driving. And combined with facial recognition and physiological measurements, we can detect the drivers if the driver is fatigue driving or not. And it is a contactless technology measurement, and we can detect the heart rate and heart pressure and the breath. And now we are focusing on the public transportation and logistics. Now we have tried in the real buses in Taiwan already. Please come to our booth. Next to the main stage is Taiwan Tech Arena, and we will show you more detailed insights with you. Thank you.
Well, I think in Taiwan, it's hard to persuade the big bosses to decrease the bus drivers' working hours. So how are you going to convince the big bosses to use your technology to, to prevent any accidents caused by the bus drivers?
Yes, if it can reduce the car accidents, it will decrease the insurance fee. So maybe we can try this way to tell the boss that it can save their money.
So my logical problem I'm having is if I'm drowsy and I'm about to get in an accident, you might recognize it, but you're still not going to stop me from getting in the accident. Does that make sense? So it sounds like it's something that you would recognize it afterwards, and maybe at the bus stop, the bus boss would yell at me. But the problem is trying to prevent accidents. So how would it actually prevent the accident? Would my car just stop moving, or would it?
The system will warn you by the voice yes, the system will alarm you if you are fatigued. And there is a back-end system also will give you some alarm that you are in fatigue or you are not in a healthy way. Maybe the back-end system will assign people to replace you.
Cool. Include that in the pitch next time.
Seems very interesting. I don't know if there's anything else out there like that. Is there?
Well, that was what I was going to say, actually, is that there is a lot of stuff like this already out there, and all the major auto manufacturers are working on their own solutions to this. Yeah. So I think getting across how yours is different or better or cheaper but just as effective, that would be crucial. I mean, overall, the topic of the increasing sophistication of cars and larger vehicles is incredibly interesting right now, so it's a good sector to be in, and maybe a marriage with, automation, driving automation would be kind of useful. It could, if somebody's driving without their hands on the wheel, your technology can help make sure that those guys don't get into accidents as well could be interesting. But yeah, I think again, it's really pressing home how yours is different from the other solutions out there would be crucial for us.
Yeah, and I felt like you could have spent more time talking about what your product actually does when it detects a sleepy, fatigued driver. Does it like set off alarm bells, beep, 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 something, or does it send a message to their boss? What does it actually do? I feel like you haven't quite explained that.
Makes them a quick cup of coffee.
Yeah, detect and warning is not the end of the journey. To stop and prevent, just like Kevin said, is the goal you're trying to make things work, right? So something is lacking here is how are you going to prevent the happening of an accident? Yeah, that's what I think that's what we're curious about.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Let's give eBus a big hand as well.
Thank you.
Now we're actually running out of time, so thanks so much for participating in the morning session with us, and thanks of all the media partners, Samson, Kevin, Kyle, and also Cindy for sharing the insight and all the valuable comment to the staff team here, and really appreciate it. And thanks for the staff for the participation. I think it's actually very interesting, and I hope you guys have fun as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.